So I bet you thought we only did car reviews, huh? No, no, no. Today we're here with the 2020 Polaris Switchback Assault 850. It's a beautiful day up here in northern Michigan. The snow's flying. It's an excellent time to be covering an awesome, powerful machine like this. This was a spring order only sled from Polaris. And it features their top-of-the-line motor that was new last year for 2019. It's a 2-cylinder, 2-stroke, semi-direct injection, 850cc motor, producing roughly 170 to 180 horsepower from the crank. Dyno tests have shown at about 165. So it's competing right up there with Skidoo's 850 and just about the most powerful engines from most manufacturers aside from the turbocharged 4-stroke stuff out there. Comes in at a low dry weight of only about 425 pounds. This one has a unique color package with this blue on black with a few white accents. And that's one of the cool things about Polaris is you're able to customize these sleds exactly how an owner wants them right from the factory. This sled has the 144-inch Cobra track with 1.6-inch lugs. And it's actually got tipped up rails, so it tries to act a little bit more like a shorter track on hard packed snow. But then when you're out here in this deep stuff, you get all 144 inches to work with. Now in terms of snowmobiles, it's gonna run you a pretty penny, right up over $15,000, but you're really getting the creme de la creme of what Polaris has to offer with this Switchback Assault. I'm Charlie from Daily Motor. Let's go check out this 2020 Polaris Switchback Assault 850. So starting up here in the front, it's got these awesome Walker Evans racing shocks. Got adjustable right here, hard and soft, for different sort of trail conditions or bump conditions or whatever you're doing out there. Really absorb the bumps well in a lot of situations, as you'll see when we're out on the trail. Got high-powered LED lights here, lights up the trail great in nighttime situations. Hand guards from the factory. Now the seat is a nice, wide back, comfortable for all sorts of trail conditions, and then it tapers up here, so you got good leg room, good maneuverability, and off-trail type of situations. These running boards are just about as evacuated as you can get, while still being solid, supportive, and grippy. Very sharp grooves in here to grab onto your boots, both in the centers and on the sides, but these large gaps here provide for snow evacuation and weight loss. Now, as I said earlier, the track is a 144-inch, but right down here at about 136 inches, the track starts to taper upward so that the rails are actually a little bit off the ground. And in really hard pack type situations, you're not going to be putting all of the track on the snow so that you're going to be able to rotate the sled a little bit more easily. But then out here in the deeper snow, all 144 inches are being used, or at least whatever's got the print down on the ground, and then you're going to get more traction. There are 3 lug heights for the track. This is a 1.6 middle option. Gives you good versatility both on trail and off. Now coming up here, it's a pretty straightforward handlebar and gauge setup. You've got heated handlebars and heated throttle right here with a high and a low. You've got different mode settings for the gauge cluster right here. You've got reverse, bright lights, high beams, and your kill switch. Now the gauge cluster won't work unless the sled started, so let's start it up now so you can see some of the functions. So initially you're greeted with your standard gauge here. You've got your RPMs and your speed, as well as some engine temp and fuel level. It also reads down at the bottom 35% here for the actual percentage measurement for fuel. You've got an odometer, engine temp, and what fuel tune you're using. You can cycle through the modes. This cycles through, on the handlebar, cycles through various readouts here, battery and engine temperature. And you've got various trip readouts, hours, average fuel economy, average speed. Oh, there's even a top speed readout. Max, 107. Down here, you can switch various modes to go down maps and trails. And this sled has full GPS on it. So it'll track where you've rode. You can see the trails around you. You can see the breadcrumb feature utilized here. And you can also use the Polaris app to allow other people to see where you are. You can connect the sled to your phone with Bluetooth and get text messages and phone calls popped up on here. It's really a nifty display and it works quite well in off-road situations. Now the Switchback Assault does have optional power start, but this sled does not have it. So this is just your standard lighter weight option. and a little less expensive of just a standard pull start like you'd have with a lot of two-stroke sleds. The problem with that is the angle for the pull start is a little bit difficult to use. So if you see, when I'm standing here on the sled, the pull starter is kind of on an upward pull trajectory. So rather than kind of coming out where you can really use your legs in sort of a lower bicep sort of motion, this kind of requires a higher sort of deltoid flex. And if the engine's cold, it can take a few starts to get it started. And it also makes it a little bit more difficult when you're standing off the sled, because down here, I'm 5'10", and it's, again, an upward angle that I have to pull, rather than something down here on a lower sled where I'm kind of pulling it toward my stomach. Up here, I'm almost pulling it toward my upper chest. It's subtle, and when the sled's warm, you really won't have much problem, but it's something to consider. Say if you were stuck in a kind of a weird angle, if the sled were up on its side, and you didn't have a very good angle, and you're trying to pull really high, it could put you in some dicey situations trying to start this big 850cc engine. Another cool feature that the new Polaris Switchback models offer is this connection system that allows you to put various accessories on the tunnel. Now this accessory bag here provides a lot of different tools and is very easy to use. So it clips in onto the tunnel right here with 4 screws. On the top of this bag, you've got this shovel type of apparatus here with a utility knife that pops right out. Very sharp, serrated, allows you to cut down trees that might be in the way of the sled, or a limb if you're really stuck in a dicey situation. Who knows? Whatever you need, Polaris has got your knife for it. Then you can unclip 2 more clips here, pull out the shovel attachment. Snaps together like so. Whoops. Pull that back a little less energetically, and voila, you've got a handy shovel that really evacuates a lot of snow if you were in a really stuck sort of situation, had to dig the sled out. Very useful, very nice for Polaris to include that. Underneath the shovel attachment, if you undo these very robust clips here, you've got very dry, secure, padded storage in here. Look at all that, tons of room. Not quite enough for a gas can, but you could put clothes in here for a night type of stay. You could put tools, belts, anything you might need. Very useful. Extra clothes, hats. And we just clip everything back together. Make sure you do all the clips, or else shit's falling out. This goes back. Back like so. And you're ready to ride. Now the ergonomics on the Polaris are pretty straightforward. You've got your heated hand grips here, high and low. You've got reverse, which I'll show you later is the standard. It actually shuts the engine off and spins it in backward, spins the engine backward, and allows the sled to go in reverse. You've got your high and low beam right here, and then I actually don't know what this green button does. And then you have your kill switch and your key. And it sounds just kind of like your standard 2-stroke. This trail's a little eaten up. It doesn't have the level of bump isolation that the Skidoo new rev chassis does. But I mean, we are doing the trail at just over 65 miles per hour here. It's getting along just fine. At the end of the day, this isn't a trail sled, but we're going to get it through some twisties here and kind of see how it fares. brake handle's a little bit short. Some of the sleds have a longer one, but that's easily amendable. Alright, let's get into some twisty trails here and see how the Switchback Assault handles them. Now it's got this long 144-inch tipped up rail track, so it's supposed to only act maybe like a 136-inch middle track length in these hard-packed snow conditions. But it's also got the uncoupled rear suspension, so you're going to get a lot of ski lift, not as much weight down on the skis, getting you through the corners. You do have to deal with the degree of tippiness that you wouldn't really have in more of a trail-oriented slide. You can see right there, the inside ski lifted up, coming around the corner, even right there. This track is not studded, it's just as it came from the factory, but I'm really pushing through these corners. It's no surprise that this sled was made to be messing around in the backcountry, and that it doesn't really excel here on the trails. Throttle response is not what you'd get from a comparable four-stroke. It takes a quick half-second or so for the revs to get up into the power band and then really start to pull. This is about the fastest that I'd be comfortable piloting this sled through the trees. And you can see I'm coming up some of these corners and I'm just getting a lot of inside ski lift. Now this sled has actually two different power tunes. If you're running at least 91 octane with less than 10% alcohol, with less than 10% ethanol fuel, then you get its highest horsepower tune. That's when you're looking at about the 165 to the track, 175 from the crank sort of numbers. But if you're running at a lower octane or higher ethanol content, it detunes the sled just a little bit. I want to say it's about 5 or 10% or so power. Probably not even that much, probably in the lower 5s or so. Still plenty of power, plenty of pull, especially for these tighter sort of trails. Oh my God. Woo! This windshield does not provide much in terms of wind protection, so you better have some good gear. Most people buying this sort of sled are going to have good gear, and they're not going to be doing a lot of high-speed running necessarily. It's going to be a lot more slow-speed, high-power type of situations in the deep snow, the backcountry, or along some jumps, that sort of deal, which is where we're headed next. So we got Nathan right here. He's riding the 600 Skidoo. This is a 2010 Renegade 600 E-Tech. It's got the 136 inch and 3/4 lugs. And the big Pilot 6.9 skis. It's been an excellent sled. Here we go, messing around a little bit more of a power line type of situation. This is where the Assault's really meant to be. Banging through these bumps with its Walker Evans shocks, 144-inch, 1.6-inch lug track. And it's just soaking up these big whoopers. No problem.